The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, is the largest and most important organization involved with aviation safety, its technical standards, legal regulations, and operating procedures, and has been essential in the development of international commercial aviation. Born out of the United Nations Chicago Convention in 1944, the ICAO oversees 191 contracting member states. Antigua and Barbuda falls under the ambit of the ICAO in this regard, establishing the standards on which the aviation industry is operated.
They develop annexes and protocols. Now, through these annexes and protocols, we are able to have one international standards for all 191 contracting states of ICAO. It's very important. And so, the type of security checks that you'll see in North America, wherever ICAO contracting states are, it can be higher, but there must be one basic level that all states follow.
ICAO does not communicate to airports but to the states themselves via their respective aviation ministries or offices, and oversight officers within these departments are their points of contact.
We mainly involve in development of regulations from these ICAO standards, annexes and other guidance materials that they have produced for each contracting state. We also involve in the oversight of the entire aviation system in Antigua. And when we make reference to aviation, it also means that the other entities that are involved for either safety or security purposes. For instance, we have police, we have the defense force, we have search and rescue that are done by the airport fire department. So it's a holistic way we look at it for the prevention of acts of unlawful interference against civil aviation.
A holistic approach is required for the efficient operations of the aviation industry in Antigua and Barbuda, and incorporates many partner agencies such as the police, the fire department, immigration, the Met Office, and air traffic control.
The ICAO standards and recommended practices are the backbone of what we do in providing a safe and efficient operation in civil aviation in Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda is a signatory state of ICAO, and so it requires that we fully comply with their standards and recommended practices. Over the past 5 years or so, or maybe a little more, we have, as a state, become a little more active in participating in the activities of ICAO within the region. Our region is headquartered in Mexico, and we have participated in a number of workshops and meetings in an attempt to meet the requirements or to satisfy the objectives of the ICAO Global Air Navigation Plan, and as a subset of that, the Regional Air Navigation Plan. So we have attended several meetings and workshops so that we can, as a state of ICAO, fully participate and know what is required of us to be a part of this global and regional initiative.
To ensure that Antigua and Barbuda efficiently and actively implements the regulations of the ICAO, quality control checks are administered on a regular basis. This too is the function of the Oversight Department within the Ministry of Civil Aviation.
We also, from our point of view, also implement what we may refer to as quality control. Because you have a system, you have to ensure it is working, and the only way that we can ensure that this is working is by conducting quality control. Quality control means that we have standards, we have laws, we have regulations, we have procedures that the airport specifically has to follow, aircraft operators has to follow, and other entities that are involved in the operations of civil aviation has to follow. So our job is to ensure that policies are in place, procedures are in place, and everyone is meeting that one international standard.
The Ministry of Civil Aviation, Antigua and Barbuda, actively supports the role of the Oversight Department in the efficient execution of their duties. This is done on the administrative end by the Permanent Secretary.
As Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, I am the Chief Accounting Officer. All correspondence from ICAO is addressed to me for action. After I receive them and would have read them, I would liaise with my Oversight Office department, which is, and they would advise me on matters. If there are matters of policy, for example, ICAO has recommended some new measures that states need to implement in order to be compliant in the aviation industry. I would liaise with the minister, I would discuss with the minister, but I would also bring in the necessary persons who could advise him as to how we should proceed as a state. So he'd be able to, as it were, articulate those points when he goes to cabinet.
Antigua and Barbuda, a country whose economy is highly dependent on tourism, has made moves towards establishing itself as a premier tourist destination. Likewise, major infrastructural developments have taken place to make a further push towards this reality. In August 2015, a brand new Surveyor Seabird International Airport was commissioned.
Approximately 4 years ago, the decision was made to do a new terminal building. But that really came out of a master plan that was done in the about 10 years ago, and the master plan called for a new terminal building because during peak period the facility was actually stretched to its capacity. So the decision was build a new terminal building that will last at least for the next 20 years. So in that, it was started in June of 2012, and it was completed in August of 2015, 3 years. There has been a number of improvement with the new facility. The new facility is 2.5 times the old facility, which is 23,000 square meter for the new facility. In the new facility, there's a number of things that was actually put in place. The first was the fact that in the old terminal they had dedicated counters. That's not a very efficient means of with an airport. So we have common use terminals, and that common use meaning that any airline can be assigned to any counters. In addition to that, we also have kiosk. In the old terminal, we had dedicated kiosk, self-check kiosk. In the new terminal, we have 15 dedicated kiosks. And those kiosks is really the way the airport operation is actually going, because you want passengers to help themselves as much as possible. In addition to that, with the old one, there was not much of a automated vertical movers. So if you're moving from one floor to the next, there is some level of difficulty, especially for passengers with reduced mobility. So in the new terminal building, all level change has either elevator, escalator, or stairs.
With an already upgraded and more user-friendly environment, the Surveyor Seabird International Airport also offers passenger loading bridges or jet bridges, which accommodates a smoother and more efficient turnover rate, especially for low-cost carriers.
Apart from it's a nice feature, it also allows more greater turnaround time for the airlines. So especially for low-cost carriers who want to have their aircraft on the ground as short a period of time as possible, they can turn around the aircraft anything in excess of I say 35 minutes.
So what role exactly did the ICAO play in the execution of building a brand new first-class airport facility that is considered foremost in the Eastern Caribbean?
It is more of the facilitation portion of ICAO, the annex that actually deal with facilitation. So in terms of the processing time, in terms of the number of booths that you have for immigration and customs, that's how ICAO actually influence that portion. But also, and one of the other major thing is the mixing of incoming and outgoing passenger. ICAO is very adamant that there should be no mixing. And what we aim to actually do in this terminal building is to ensure that does not happen.
The ICAO is also directly involved in the monitoring of airfield operations at the airport facility.
ICAO really monitors the airfield operation, which is one, air traffic control, the safety of aircraft coming here, the state of our runways, runway incursions, the apron operation. And yes, we do liaise with ICAO. ICAO do audits on us at least, I think, once a year. The regional ICAO team comes in from Mexico, and they visit us, audit us, give us ideas of what happened. They were recently here late last year, where we're trying to implement a runway safety team, and we are working with that diligently at this point in time. We had our first meeting. We're going to have our first meeting next week. Next week is second, and we're looking to put things in place. But ICAO keeps a close tab on all operations here at the BC Bird International Airport.
Antigua and Barbuda has come a long way in the past few decades, from the Coolidge Airfield era in the 1940s to a brand new terminal in 2017, with additions and improvements in between. The airport now functions at Level A status, moving some 850,000 passengers on an annual basis. The government of Antigua and Barbuda now has its sights set on improving the facilities on the sister isle of Barbuda, and the ICAO will be very instrumental in that project as well.
Now we're planning to build a new airport in Barbuda. They're going to have to come in and lend some assistance, the approval, the safety measures, etc. Even though we follow the international safety measures, they will come in and make final checks, and they will make any proposals if we want technical assistance. So they're right there for us.
Antigua and Barbuda pledges their continued support to the International Civil Aviation Authority for the implementation of standards to ensure the advancement of the aviation industry, not only in the Twin Island state, but within the Caribbean region and the rest of the world.
Heartiest congratulations to ICAO, and I hope that they continue for a very, very long time, which I hope that they'll have to do, that they separate all of us and help us, and they send out their rules and regulations and whatever it is. So I look forward to working with them, and Antigua and Barbuda, be with them for a very, very long time. Congratulations, ICAO.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and especially to all the children on board, and welcome to Antigua.